here visiting for a week. Really appreciate this forum. I'm a professional executive coach out of Silicon Valley in New York. And Marc, I wanted to address you. I really was impressed by your presentation. And here we were gathering to talk about finance tonight, and most of your talk was about the emotional side of entrepreneurialism. And you mentioned that you had a coach yourself. I'm here learning about the entrepreneur community in Australia, and I was wondering when you thought it was appropriate for entrepreneurs to invest in themselves in that way, to invest in the emotional side rather than the product side, because a lot of entrepreneurs focus 99% of their time and energy on product in the early days, and not so much on developing themselves as leaders and getting ready for the period of time when they need to actually invest in growing a company and not just growing products. And wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah, thanks, Edward. Great question. Look, I got a coach pretty much 6 months into my role. I just discovered that it's very lonely at the top in that position, right? You've got a board, you can't talk to them about everything, you can't disclose everything to investors, and you've got to be able to hold your strength and show your strength to your management team. So it's very lonely, and your wife or your husband certainly doesn't want to hear about it either, only to an extent. I mean, one thing I learned from my first marriage is that you've really got to be careful how much stuff you take home to your partner, right? Because you can't make them your emotional dumping ground. So I think, to have a coach, someone, as they say in America, who's, in your corner, is a great thing. And I think, whether you're a startup with little cash to spare, or whether you're a fully fledged company, right from the beginning, you should have a coach. And there's many forms that coaches come in. Some of them are people that have had real world experience in being in your position, which is a good thing, but unfortunately in Australia, they're in really short supply. There's other forms of coaches that come from a psychology or a psychotherapy background, and if they've got a bit of nous about them and a bit of understanding from business, they can also be good as well, because at the end of the day, understanding personal dynamics, understanding your own anxieties, understanding what goes on in your head, it's what it's all about. So a good psychotherapist or psychologist background who has some business understanding can be good as well. For the most part in Australia, you've got to be careful. I think there's a lot of people out there that are doing, 4-week coaching courses online and calling themselves business coaches and that sort of stuff. And, they're going to waste your time. So you have to be really thoughtful and thorough in who you choose. But, you can get coaches from anything from 10 grand a year to 50 grand a year to more. Some coaches cost 100 grand a year. I think there's a solution out there for everyone. If it is at the lower end of the scale, you might have to supplement with, having the right mentors. I don't think any coach is going to give you the one answer. What a coach should be really good for and focused on is helping you understand yourself and what's going on in your head and your own relationship dynamics with others. That's super important. And then if you're lucky, they can help you in other areas. But if not, find 3 or 4 good mentors with different skill sets that you can really rely on as well. I think coaching is the factor that makes a difference, and it would be the number one thing I'd recommend to you.